It's time for this week's Difficult Conversations. And today I'm joined by a man whose life has been shaped by his turbulent history, the history of Northern Ireland, in fact. He was born in England but raised in Belfast during the height of the Troubles. Stephen Gillen experienced firsthand the conflict that defined a generation. And after returning to England and navigating a difficult childhood through the care system, he found himself in prison for the first time at just 14. As we mark the 30th anniversary of the Provisional Irish Republican Army's announcement of a complete cessation of military operations, Stephen joins me to reflect on his pivotal moment in all this time in history. Stephen Gillen, welcome.
Hi, Nana. Always a pleasure to be here with you.
Look at us, our colours match that you got. It's blue and yellow. They're so complementary. What's your favourite colour? I
like blue. I'm very safe.
Should have said green.
I should push it out a bit.
You should say green. Blue and yellow make green, man. What's wrong with you? Welcome, Stephen. So talk to me. You grew up. You were born in the UK, but in England actually. But you kind of grew up during the Troubles in Northern Ireland, because you've written your book Extraordinary, and that actually kind of starts the journey there. So talk to me about what it was like growing up in Belfast.
I was born here, and I was taken over there when I was about six months old. You know, so all I remember was that upbringing. Ireland is a magical place, amazing people. You know, it was scarred, of course, then, you know, by the war years. This was the early 70s when it was really hitting it. But you know, this goes back. You know, there's a lot of history that has positioned this and the people of Northern Ireland. All parties now, you know, for what they had to endure and what they had to go through in them years. It was a great place, but it was you know, you had to watch yourself in them years. It was a very dangerous place to live at that time. Yeah,
but that kind of started you off with your journey, because when did you come back to England, and what were your sort of main memories?
Well, you know, I was a child. There was a lot of amazing stuff. I was fortunate enough to be around wonderful people. You know, behind the door it was very kind, very loving, all the stuff a child would want. But outside the door, of course, was a different matter, a real suspicion. You had to watch where you went, what you said, all of this kind of stuff. So it was a paradox, really.
Talk to me about your family then, and your actual upbringing then. So where were your parents? What happened to you? I mean, I understood somebody else sort of brought you up rather than your immediate family. Is that right?
Yeah. My mother left to make a life for us in England. You know, them years was very hard. So I was with the grandmother and the older lot of the family. You know, so they was the old school, right? You know, and they brought them values. You know, so I was very lucky. That was instilled in me. You know, in them formative years. But it was a very, very hard place to navigate. I mean, I see terrible atrocities over there, and you was faced with that constantly there, you know?
I remember there was always talk of the Troubles in Northern Ireland until eventually all of that stopped. So when you came to this country, talk to me about getting in trouble at the age of 14. How did that come about?
Well, I was groomed, Nana, in many respects. I'm not the excuses guy, but you know, when I come back to England, I was a 9-year-old child on a boat, you know, going to a foreign land, and I was different. You know, I had to navigate that, you know, and then ended up in London, and I was like the feral child. Of course, you know, it was easy for me to look for a surrogate family, which was a lot of what happened, you know, and some of the people of the outer family or people I, you know, knew after coming through a very, very hard time in care homes. But, you know, there was high-profile target criminals of the day. So this became the next surrogate family.
So you potentially were targeted because you were in a care home by these sort of people who would kind of groom you into a life of crime.
I think it's easy, Nana. I mean, I was susceptible to that, you know, and I brought a lot of trauma, a lot of damage. So I was a crazy kid, and to them that's attractive. Once upon a time, many moons, but really I wasn't. You know, I was screaming out for other things, and you know, I needed that ecosystem that we all do, and of course I didn't really have that.
You were looking for love. You were looking for the nurturing feeling of a family, which is probably why you ended up in gangs. Is that right? So So at 14, what were your crimes then? What did you do? Why were you in prison?
Well, it started off, it was the stupid stuff, we used to run away from the care homes now, to be honest with you, and it was just trying to survive. We'd do stupid stuff because they'd bring us back and we'd go back and forth, from London and all the rest of it. Some of the care homes I was in, there's very brutal and stuff like that. Some of the things that's in the book, of course, what they used to do. So it wasn't a good place, a healthy place to be, right? And it just went on from there because it snowballed.
OK, so your first crime, what was that? And what age were you when you went to the care home?
12,
About 12.
11,
12.
Coming on to 12. Your first stuff was stupid stuff, taking cars and taking things from shops. Stupid stuff. Of course, that escalated, later on.
To what?
Well, you know the story
I
now.
do know the story, but the viewers and listeners might not know.
No, we got into organised crime, serious crime, very, very quickly.
When you say we, who was your accomplice? Who were you with?
Well, it was the people around me, and the thing about this, as a 16-year-old, we even had firearms, all this stuff around us. Unfortunately, it's a terrible thing, but I have to say it to try and give solutions to this way of life. But, the thing you have to understand is the older ones, they had gone through the same thing as well, in a way. So they was positioned for that. Not all of them, but a majority of them. And, of course, you're really conditioned then. It's hard to get out of that life. It's very dark. It closes you in, and, of course, the mindset is very destructive.
And so you were you went to prison for using a firearm, as I understand. Is that right? Using a firearm. You shot at an officer. You didn't shoot them, but you did kind of shoot at them. Yeah,
for the viewers, it was serious stuff. Very, very quickly. I had 3 trials at the Old Bailey.
It was armed robbery,
organised crime stuff. I ended up in the end. I got 17 years. So I'd done 12 of that as a Category A prisoner.
And you were there in prison alongside people like Charles Bronson.
Yes, Charlie Bronson. He's a very sad case, really, in many ways. He's should he be released? I think he should, but he needs to come down the system, Nana, because they're not giving them opportunities to rehabilitate. So that's Charlie.
What was he like, though, when you met him?
Well, he's some of the things, obviously, that people think, but there are other sides to people. And when you're kind of caged like that, how he was, it's very hard to translate into something better.
Well, so you've written a book, Stephen Gillen, Extraordinary, which you are. We've talked about this book before, but there's a lot of other stuff going on with you now because you've become an entrepreneur, you've become obviously a motivational speaker, encouraging others to choose the right path. Talk to me about what you're up to now then, because it's been an incredible journey.
Yeah, it's important to say to the viewers over there, I don't condone this kind of violence or anything like that. In 2019, I was nominated for an International Peace Prize. This is the other side of it. So there's a lot of work there in the middle. This is many years ago, and I own businesses and stuff like that. I've just finished filming with Ross Kemp. There's a series coming out.
What's that called?
It's called Ross Kemp, Mafia and Britain. It's on Sky History.
What do you do in it?
Well, I kind of present with Ross in the first episode, which is London. I introduced them to a lot of people. I have a lot of access, but it's about the Italian mafia's influence here in the UK. It's filmed in Sicily, New York, Colombia, Spain. I actually say to Ross, if you want to understand La Cosa Nostra, you have to go to New York. So I send him to New York at the end of the series. But
and now your parents, are they half Italian or both Italian? Or
my grandmother was Italian, but I'm Irish, very Irish.
You're Irish. You sound like you sound mafioso from the Italian side. That's how he sounds. It's great though. So you've done, so you came out of prison. What was the hardest thing that you had to face when you came out of there? Because most people will never trust a prisoner if somebody's, especially at that time. Now there are more schemes. You've got Timpson helping out prisoners and things, but that didn't exist then.
Rivers to sail, Nana, the hardest part was finding my own humanity and my own self. I'd done a lot of voluntary work. I actually done a big piece in the Times about this, reform, just the other week there, saying about this and how to help people to transition correctly through that. But, you're institutionalised, so you've got a couple of years there
Before
to
you
find yourself and integrate back into life.
So what do you think of, just to get your view, Keir Starmer, he's obviously shortened sentences, 40% of the sentence will be served, some people coming out earlier to make space for others, whatever your judgment is on whether he's right to do that. What do you think, Stephen?
I think, and I've said this, Nana, time and time again, the categorisation of prisoners in the first instance is wrong. As many people shouldn't be in there. Mean? There's other people who have mental health problems, they're just thrown in there. Of course, there are some people that need to be in prison, that's for sure. They need to pay their debt to society and all this stuff. But it's very, the red tape is very bureaucratic, in there. And, it's like fiefdoms in a way, and this stops the communication process at real decision-making to really get rehabilitation for those open to that and need that.
Because that's a good point, because not everyone's open to rehabilitation. Some people are hardened and they're never going to be rehabilitated, even if they give you the impression that they might be. Was there a lot of that about? I mean, I suppose when you were in prison at that time, was there rehabilitation? Was there anything? Did they offer you anything when you came out?
For me, I have to say no, because Category A's, it was high security prisons within prisons. That's about containment and security. The general prison population, there is, but all too little, and packaged in the wrong way, Nana.
So you've got a few things coming out that we should keep our eyes on, the stuff with Ross Kemp as well. Anything in the pipeline that you can tell us about?
Yeah, the book. The book is really good. I'm actually doing something with Netflix now. We're a fifth of the way into doing a documentary on my life.
Oh, wow.
But because of some of the great work I've been privileged to do, and that we're really, really in the middle of some wonderful stuff in the States. I can't talk too much about it, but it's to do a couple of seasons, something over there, which is really, really exciting. It's very high level, and it's in the same genre, which is what all I could really say at the moment. So watch out for that one. I'm super excited and privileged about that one. Yeah,
well, we will definitely keep our eyes peeled for all of that, Stephen. And, of course, your book, Extraordinary, it's out now. People can get hold of it in all the necessary places in the regular bookstores. How's it going? Is it proving to be very popular with people?
It's going really well. We've done a launch at Waterstones. Of course, she was, we see some great people there, shall I say. I'm really glad they come to support. And, of course, before me, you had people in there like the Deputy Prime Minister, Kelly Holmes, and all that launched their books in there. So it was really successful, and I'm just really privileged. It's not really the story. I'm just a conduit. I don't, I'm feet on the ground. But it's the jewels and the message is in there to help other people. I think it's a valuable part.
And what is your message? What would your message be to people?
Well, to make the right choices in life, and life is tough. It doesn't matter what that is. These things forge us, but it's always about being honest, finding the best of yourself, being open to learn and give, rather than take.
Stephen Gillen, what a pleasure to talk to you. Thank you very much for joining me. That is Stephen Gillen. He was a former mobster, but he's now an author, he's an entrepreneur, he has businesses, and he's really turned his life around. Definitely one to watch out for.